very possible. He could win all 25. But that's really impressive, man. That's really hard. So I am curious to see if Ryu can show us what that feisty Europe MMR that he's working with is all about today.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Bottom left, he is the blue Zerg, Cham.
And in the top right side of Glittering Ashes, we're looking at the main base of the Peruvian Zerg, who is perhaps facing his nemesis. But can he turn things around today? Representing the Cranky Ducklings, it is Ryu. Or Ryu. And of course, we do have to mention that Ryu lives in Italy, so he is playing with a bit of a ping disadvantage. And I think especially in ZVZ, that can be really annoying and can be hard to deal with. But, you know, we just saw it in Eric as well. ZVZ is not always about the flashy micro and splitting links like crazy against Banelings. You can get a win on strategy too.
Absolutely. It's absolutely the case. I mean, there's a couple of things that I want to mention. As much as I was not on Ryu's side for winning this, and you know, perhaps the biggest one is that Cham has faltered in ZVZ previously. The only time he did not make it into the playoffs is because he lost against Jim Rising, actually.
That was crazy.
That was two years ago, and it was kind of crazy. It definitely was unexpected. Cham bounced back later, and he's been totally fine in all of the Latin American regionals. But yeah, that can happen. And I do think that Cham was playing subpar on that particular season, I guess, in general. And then maybe that kind of, you know, kicked his butt a little bit, and he was like, okay, that's time to take it seriously. But the same thing could absolutely be happening here today. I mean, TVZ is so different. Kelazur is so different. The dynamic between Cham and Kelazur is so different. But it really was not the best play. So if Cham's still kind of warming up, if he has not been playing all that much the last couple of months, you know, he'll get into it when he gets into it. Then Ryu absolutely can take this series. Absolutely. And I think we'll see if Cham is kind of stable again in probably the next 5 minutes, actually. We'll see if his micro's on point, if his builder is on point, you know, all that good stuff.
Yep, and just in case you guys think that maybe we were a bit harsh on Cham and Kelazur, that is because obviously we know how good they are, right? We have seen them peak in the past. We've seen them make it very hard on the very best players in the world. I will always think back of Cham's great run in Tours back then. I think the tournament that Showtime won against Nerdchill. Like, Cham was arriving at that point. He was one of the finer players in the entire foreign scene, not just Latin America. So we hold these guys to a high standard. And of course, we're always going to cheer on the up-and-comers, and we understand they're going to make a couple of beauty errors here and there, and the pressure will get to them. But we know how good Cham is. We know how good Kelazur can be. And yeah, for all the great things they have shown us in the past, that was definitely a bit of a comical best of three.
It was. I have to believe they'd admit it as well, which is going back to the point of mentality that you guys were bringing up, which, you know, Cham could be a little nervous, even though he has such a winning record against this guy. He wasn't playing particularly hot today, and it is ZVZ, and his life is tournament life is on the line. So all those things can start to factor in, but so far so good on the macro. Everything looks fine for the build order opener. We do have a faster evolution chamber for Cham. And I was going to say, if Ryu doesn't go for one as well, then you know, something odd is up. So the oddness is a very fast lair for the Red Zerg.
Yeah. So far, Ryu playing pretty safe, right? He's even getting the safety banings on his side of the map. Going for a quick lair, that's one thing, and I don't hate it. Once more, trying to win on strategy is a real thing. If you don't feel like you can out-micro your opponent because either they're better at it or you're dealing with a bit of a ping disadvantage, why not try to get the strategic advantage? And if he's able to sneak out a super quick Spire in this game, which could very well be the case, even if we drop a Roach Warren, this is something you kind of want to show your opponent, like, all right, I'm going Roaches, playing super honest. Meanwhile, bam, Spire finishes up way before your opponent even starts thinking of secondary units other than Roaches and Lynx.
Well, right now, Cham can immediately compare the two build orders as far as the evolution chamber goes, right? Now, I could see that and say, oh, okay, now I just have like a 20-second lead on the +1, go me. Or I could see that and say, well, why, you know, is there a reason that's late? Should I be a little suspicious? And we'll see, I guess, with his next couple of actions if he's suspicious or not. So, you know, primarily, how fast does he get that Overseer once the lair is finished is the really next thing we're talking about. He does boot up Overlord speed, so he's going to guarantee get that Scout. But of course, even if he does get the Scout, it'll be as the Spire's finishing. We're still talking about a Muta versus Roach game, and it is cool strategy to try and get the jump on Cham here. It is a little surprising to know that the guy living in Italy is the one going for Mutas. Very micro-intensive.
Do you think that Cham is going to go Spire too? Because he's going up to 6 gases. And could he go for Roaches and Corruptus? Is that...
He absolutely could. That's never really stopped being a good counter, apparently. We just don't see it very often. I guess the stars don't align often enough for it to be worthwhile. We got to see that a little bit at Katowice, actually.
Yeah, I think
So
Sarah's
that's cool.
responsible for this, man. Everyone's just afraid that they go Corruptus when they go up against Lurkers.
That really confused me for a second. I know what
But now you remember. It was on this map as well.
Yes, yes, it was.
Misreads happen to the best of us, Zombie Girl.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. All right, so the Spire is detected. I was actually still kind of wondering, yeah, 6 gases could have gone into it, but I know Cham, yeah. So I wasn't expecting this, actually. I was thinking more along the lines of a lot of Roach Ravager, and then just trying to barrel forward, hoping to catch someone only making about 6 meters, but I don't know, it's invitation bit Hydralist and all things that obviously need a lot of gas too. So he's going to skyrocket up to Vipers, Fungals, Lurkers. We're going to have a bit of a longer ZVZ.
I don't hate this for Ryu though, right? Because yesterday I kind of felt that he couldn't really get his game and his strategy going. And now I feel like we can actually kind of do what we want to do. And we're going to keep a close eye on the production tab. Because one of the absolute classics, and I do want to contribute that one to Raynor, because he managed to get Sarah a couple of times with that, is where you make a handful of mutas, your opponent takes it very serious, they go up to Hive, they drop Sport Crawlers, they get ready for that long game, and suddenly they're like, why are there not more mutas? Why are there no banelings blowing up my drones? And then the other Zerg is maxed out on Roaches, and while you're transitioning into Hive-tech armies, suddenly you die against a maxed out Roach Zerg. I kind of like where this is going for Ryu. I'm getting a little excited here, Zombie Girl.
I agree. Signs are pointing positively for Ryu. I always say Ryu, so I think people are going to get bothered by us, but then he adds on a high list.
I can go with Ryu too. I know you're right. Okay, it's a Japanese thing. It's a Street Fighter thing.
I am right. Thank you for acknowledging that. Kills the Changeling with a Baneling. That was confusing for a second. But anyways, because Ryu adds the Hydralist in, I'm not really as confident in this punchy win against the guy trying to tech up, right? Ryu's also thinking about teching up. So this is still something to worry about. That's a decent army supply that Ryu's coming across the map with. He's not totally dedicating to it.
Yeah, I feel like at this point we didn't really do a whole lot with our mutas. Like, what did we really get done? 1 or 2 overlords? It kind of feels like that is it. But he's going to try to pounce on his base, and Cham is out of position. And Cham seems to be worried. Even though Cham, I feel like, is the one with the stronger army. Maybe he's busy dealing with those Roaches in the natural. Now Ryu can just disengage and play his own Lurker game. That honestly was a bit too easy, wasn't it?
I think the reason it was easy is because Ryu at least cleared up the overlords, right? So Cham knew that there was nothing coming from the very right because that overlord's still alive, but he had no idea what was kind of coming through the middle right. So he wasn't quite sure if there was going to be 40 more supply of Roaches barreling down the right side. We could see that the supply has not been capped out. So I kind of understand. I think there is a very good chance that Ryu could have been maxed out, all winning basically, and we would have applauded Cham for making such a level-headed decision. So I get it. And it really doesn't cost him too much, I would say, to just let a 300 or 350 hatchery go when he's already advanced so much. He has the technology, he has the lurkers, he has the upgrade on the way, and he's going to be the first one to Vipers too.
That is all very fair indeed, but Ryu's got to be pretty happy with that one though. It's like, all right, got myself a little bit economically ahead. I am now mining off 4 bases. I know that you won't be mining off 4 bases for a little while. I kind of wonder how these two match up against each other when it comes to Lurker Viper wise, because I've seen a fair amount of games of Ryu. I've seen a fair amount of ZVZs with Cham. You ask me how many times have I seen them in the Lurker Viper battle? I'm actually inclined to say 0. Like, I never really see them get there. These are guys that spam a lot of Roaches, Mutas, Banelings, Lynx, Ravagers, maybe a couple Hydras here and there, but Lurker Viper between these two is honestly not something that I can ever recall, or even in general. Like, I don't see Ryu play these kind of games very often.
I think that's true. I think that's one of the reasons that Cham prepared so much for one of those longer, more muta-focused games, was that if this goes long, it was into Mass, Lane, Baneling, Muta, and maybe even Ultras later on. That sounds a little more familiar. But even I'm really struggling to remember what their games looked like. Because all I really remember is you saying that no one goes 20-0 against Ryu or something. Like the one time he got a map win. And the rest of it's a little bit blank. But Yeah, I don't think they play a lot of lurker to lurker, viper to viper.
Yeah, I think it was Kalazur was like 28-0, and I was like, no one goes 30-0 against Ryu, and then Ryu won a map. Latin America has given us some quality moments over the years, that's for sure.
Yes, it has. Well, I guess it's been 10.5 minutes. Cham has not really made any fatal mistakes. Oh, certainly no fatal mistakes, but even just boneheaded mistakes. Like, there's been none of that. Even the loss of the 4th hatch, definitely, as I was saying, very understandable for what he could see. So with that, I would believe he's the better player in this situation. But we have really no idea. We haven't watched all of their games the past, 10 series. We haven't watched all their ladder matches. I could not say for sure. But if he gets into the late game, if they're both going for the same composition, my gut says Cham. We'll see if Ryu can surprise us. Maybe he has much better Viper control, because that is yet to be tested. It's a lot of poking and prodding. I do love the Nidus Worm. I like that addition.
Yeah, same. I absolutely love the Nidus, because sometimes that's all it takes. We have the Lurker set up here already. Can we abduct the Vipers? He almost is in range. Yes, he gets the Viper. He gets the Lurker. He also loses the Viper. He's definitely supposed to kill that one. So far, it seems like they are evenly matched. Of course, we got rid of the Mutas in kind of a careless manner, but that's okay. We're just freeing up army supply for more of these power units. And I honestly feel that the more Vipers, the merrier at this point, right? Whenever you watch Serral play one of these late game scenarios against someone like Rogue is like 5 or 6 Vipers, and then Serra's like 11. It's like, well, that's pretty good.
I do think there's too many Vipers, but in line with too many medevacs, which if you go up to 10, I'm still kind of okay with that.
All right, it seems like, okay, Cham was actually a little bit late. The Lurkers have already burrowed, but there is no Overseer. There is an Overseer. We're going to reposition them. This has to be pretty good for Ryu, as even though his Lurkers are a little bit more lined up, it's 3 against 3, but his ones are a little bit more healthy. There is also another fight happening in the center of the map. Viper's getting abducted. Cham is going to have to deal with these Lurkers, though, in his main.
There's not a Nidus Worm. That it could be used for evacuation. It could be used to spell out more and more. Okay, another Nidus Worm on top of that. As perhaps Ryu is picking up that Cham's not really respecting this enough. He's not sending anything more. They just had a fight in the middle of the map, right? So I do like that. All of the reinforcements went into that Nidus Worm, popping out to get to that hive. And there's going to be an escape. There's 2 Nidus Worms. The Hydras do take out the hive, and there's the escape. It was big. 3 Nidus Worms. It was a couple of Hydras, but the hive's now gone. That means no more Vipers.
Okay, but we do abduct one of the Vipers of Ryu and drops a little blinding cloud there, so one of these Lurkers not going to be able to shoot for a little bit. Hydra is also running into Spine Crawlers. Cham does have the bigger army. Whoa, running into that many Lurkers is so crazy, but actually gets away with it. Viper count currently 4 against 1. And no hive on the side of Cham. Cham may have, I want to say, the better economy, but it's actually pretty that even. And Ryu has been mining a little bit more. No, Viper's getting attacked by Hydras. Ryu, that's painful, mate. He loses 1 and the other 2. He's just not paying attention.
Yeah, he must think that's just the hatchery under attack. So he's like, well, the hatchery's gone. Who cares? That's a big mistake. He definitely had more Vipers and just simply lost track of them. And now we have more of a mobile battle than I'm a little used to. So many battles happening with mass Hydra, not so much as the Lurkers. It is Cham with 11 Lurkers and Ryu only at 3. Is he going to add any more Lurkers? He doesn't have a lot of gas, so I guess he couldn't add very many. That might be why Cham wins, even though he doesn't have Vipers, which is usually a death sentence.
Yeah, but I don't think that Cham can just run into Ryu, though, right? We're looking at a maxed out Zerg. Blinding Clouds are very powerful. Abducts are very powerful defensively. If we can get the Vipers in the right place, we could even give up on this base. Like, sure, we lost 2 bases then. I don't even think that's the end of the world. I don't think we should fight 5 Lurkers like this, though. Ryu is bleeding out a lot of Hydras. And that gas bank that you mentioned is never going to grow if we keep losing 12 Hydras at a time.
That gas bank is really the most worrying part. I don't know how much mobility is really going to stack up when you get punched in the face. It's like someone dancing around trying to get a punch in, and you just punch him in the face. If more Lurkers come out from Cham, which he could definitely afford, he's totally fine. And he just splits them even. Imagine he has 20 Lurkers, splits them 10 and 10. That is incredibly difficult for you to take care of. But this attack for Cham maybe isn't it. He's getting Blinded Cloud. He's going after the Vipers. This is very ambitious. Yeah, he has Lurkers shooting away here. It's a bloodbath on both sides, really. And it is Ryu who comes out for less because he has less money. He has less of a bank.
You might know it was all about the Hydras in the top left side taking more awkward fights against the Lurkers, but at least the fight indeed in the bottom right went very good. Did Cham ever remake his hive, by the way? Okay, now he fires it up. That is a very late remake on that hive. Almost felt that Cham thought he could just win without Vipers, perhaps. Still, the last few minutes were very strong, though, for Cham. I mean, if we take a look at the units lost resource tab, we can see that Ryu, despite the fact that he's the one who was able to get a Nidus network in the main base up, has lost 5,000 resources more. And honestly, that has to be like all Hydras, right? He has lost 22 Hydras more and 6 Vipers more than Cham has.
Right, exactly. That's pretty bad. Cham has lost more lurkers, but he's also made more lurkers.
Yeah.
And he's continuing to make more lurkers. 12 now available, and he is splitting them on side by side. So Ryu's just going to have a tough time responding in both locations appropriately every single time. I guess a couple just finished, so there's that. But it feels like, it actually kind of feels like the writing's on the wall. Unless Ryu can take a really good fight, he is not going to have the staying power in this game. He doesn't have enough of a bank.
Nope. I felt that his Vipers were just always in the wrong spot. He's going to move his lurks a little bit closer, gets a couple of good shots up there at the bottom, but the fights in the top left side have gone particularly bad. Like, bottom right side has been sort of alright, and it feels that Ryan has been paying way more attention to those battles than he has been to these battles in the top side. Cham is just displaying some superior skill here when it comes to making the right amount of lurkers and moving them around and finding those openings. Because normally you're not supposed to get this many good fights if you're the one who lost his hive and doesn't have any Vipers.
Yeah, exactly. You're really not supposed to, but just having more lurkers and having that bigger bank from the get-go really helped carry Cham through. He capitalized on it as opposed to just kind of retreating into himself and being scared because, oh no, I don't have any Vipers, and he was able to push to victory, which I think this is what I wanted to say kind of happens between the two, which is that Ryu never looks bad against Cham. It's never like, oh yeah, well, he's never going to defeat Cham. It's always something to talk about, something to give credit to Ryu for, but he's not able to finalize it, even if he gets into really good positions.
Yeah. I wish that if he would have paid attention to those 3 Vipers that he randomly lost in the bottom side of the map, if those were with some of these fights at the top side, because at one point, I think he lost over 20 Hydras trying to clean up 3 Lurkers. Imagine if you have the Viper there, abduct, you kill those 3 Lurkers, and he just has such an easier time than even taking better fights, perhaps in the bottom right as well, because he doesn't have to worry about those 3 Lurkers, but the Hydras just were rallied into a meat grinder straight up, and played good. Definitely had his moments, and then I felt like he kind of lost in a moment where he's not supposed to lose. But I think you can really see that Cham does have a lot of experience in games like this, where I was like, I'm not sure how good he is in the Viper battle, and Cham was like, well, it doesn't have to be about the Viper battle. I can just utilize what I'm very good at, and that is army movement and playing very dynamic, looking for openings, and definitely did a great job there. I felt dizzy following the action. I'm sure Ryu felt dizzy dealing with lurkers left and right.
I do also wonder, because I didn't really keep track of it, but it felt like when Ryu still had a bank and still had bases and still, had just taken out that hive, it felt like he was very much deciding not to go for more lurkers. Because I think he had some bank. He had like 1,500 or something like that. And he just very much did not go lurkers. And I even called it out, but it obviously did not pay off for him. And maybe the lurkers wouldn't have saved him either. And 5 more lurkers maybe doesn't save him. But it did feel like he kind of got himself excited about the idea of kind of out multitasking, just sending the hydras in different locations and using them almost like a mobile force. And he got kind of punished. I mentioned getting punched in the face. Well, he didn't get punched in the face necessarily, but he did just continue losing a bunch of hydras out to the lurkers, which at the end of the day are 9 times out of 10 superior, unless you have that perfect concave or vipers, which
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, I think just spamming Hydras in big numbers wouldn't be that bad. But then you need to have perfect Viper control and perfect Viper positioning. It doesn't even matter whether we rely on the Blinding Clouds or the Abducts. But ideally, if you have Vipers and your opponent doesn't, yeah, you can definitely pick these lurkers off one by one. But then the Vipers need to be in the right place and not die randomly in the center of the map. Because then it's not Hydra Viper against Lurker. It's just Hydra against Lurker. And that is not a very fair fight. Let's see what Game 2 has in store for us here on Hardwire in the bottom left side. I feel like he got close, and he got somewhat close yesterday, but so far it's not meant to be. Can he, for the second time in his career, win a competitive game against his opponent on a very important moment? Representing the Cranky Ducklings, playing from Italy, but hailing from Peru, it is Ryu.
In the top right, going for an extractor trick, real fancy like, he is Cham.
In my eyes, Cham is an extractor, because he is an 11 out of 10.
Ha ha! Wait. Is that the
I know.
old supply?
Yeah, it is the old supply. It was a good Wings of Liberty joke. It's a pickup line. Are you an extracted trick? Because you're an 11 out of 10, but it doesn't really work anime. Shame.
No. And what is it now? 15 out of 14? Doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
What does it even mean?
This doesn't make any sense. I feel like it didn't happen this year or last year, but I feel like a couple of years ago, there was a surprising amount of excitement for Valentine's Day and StarCraft 2 memes. I don't know. Maybe Gemini was tweeting and that's all I really saw, but I just feel like a lot of people were posting those stupid, Valentine's Day cards to people just for funsies. And there's a lot of good puns from StarCraft. But
yeah, I actually used to have this picture saved on my desktop as like roses are red, violets are blue. The only additional pile and I need is you. It's like, oh, I was so romantic when I was young.
Did you have to give out Valentine's Day cards in school?
No, that is not a thing. I mean, obviously you could make it a thing, but that's not something we did in high school. I was too busy playing Warcraft Zombie Grub.
Oh, of course. Well, I'm talking elementary. Like, we didn't do it in high school. But the thing is that it started off with people only doing it if they like someone or were friends with someone. And then kids complained, or their parents complained for them, that they weren't getting any cards. So instead of being like, well, if you do bring cards, you have to bring cards for everyone, they just like blanket said like everyone has to bring cards in my school, which really was quite stupid. Not exactly expensive, but just like an unnecessary $10 investment to give Valentine's Day cards to a bunch of 8-year-olds. There's my story.
But some of them will remember it forever and say, that's the best Valentine's Day I've ever had.
That's true. They might have. Personally, I'm pretty sure I never got a single one if it was not forced. And I turned out fine. I'm fine, guys.
Yeah? Are you sure Zombie Grub is this something you want to talk about? All right, let's talk about this EVZ because it's obviously an important one. Ryu is building 14 links. But he does have a Baneling nest going up as well. That Baneling nest is not hidden or anything. So it seems like it's very standard, but he is the first to build these links and he's going to try to make some magic happen on the other side of the map.
1811, but Banelings are readily available. Probably not going to find very much. A lot more potential when Cham doesn't have his Baneling nest yet. Just being really greedy, or as no safety Banelings whatsoever.
Oh, Baneling! No, not like that, Ryu. Not like that. I mean, good job by Cham. He was hiding it in a very random spot, or morphing it even behind the mineral line at the third. It's just not something you ever see. And there is a bit of green there already because of the extractor, so maybe it's slightly harder to spot, but that is honestly a bit of a disaster way for Ryu to start this game. Not game over by any means, but it's not good for your confidence and not good for the morale.
Right. If that was a attack that just like kind of excused making the Baneling nest.
Natural Baneling.
Oh jeez. Yeah, if he didn't have any Banelings, if he skipped his own Baneling nest, he would be in a lot of trouble. A lot more trouble. As it is, he's still in trouble. The Baneling's going to injure some of these drones. The Lings will take them out. At least that's the ideal situation. They go after the Queen. That was also low, so that's still a pretty damn good pickup. And Cham, behind all of it, is adding on actually a lot more Lings. He might be seeing blood. He's going to delay that lair, just not go for it whatsoever. Add on a bunch of Lings, roaches, and maybe his +1 missile won't be done. There's actually kind of an awkward timing there, but he could probably find Ryu off guard because Ryu's trying to go for a Spire again.
Yep, and Cham hasn't even tacked up yet, so it would make a lot of sense. But then Cham does kind of have to stop building drones, and he is not oh, that would have been cool. That would have been very cool, but Cham is aware of it. Cham too good, too much experience. One Baneling will finish up morphing and connect with 2 out of 3 Zerglings. Good job there. Cham even saving a single link. Will the roach attack be in time though? I feel like it might be perfect, but it's gonna cut it somewhat close, right?
That's what I'm wondering about. I think if he doesn't wait for +1, if he just goes, he just sends his roaches across the map, really no reason not to, then it's going to be totally fine. I mean, these Lings and Banelings are already causing a lot of chaos. Fortunately, there is one more Baneling for Ryu, so the Lings will not be able to take out those queens. But this is just the appetizer. The main dish is on the way, and it's just full of roaches.
No. I'm watching Ryu's camera, and he definitely did check his overload on the top side, and he saw 6 or 7 roaches standing there. So at this point, Ryu has to know that Cham is going to send everything that he has to the other side of the map, and every second feels like an eternity at this point. That Spire is almost done. Ryu is going to build a couple of safety roaches, I'm afraid it's too late, though. He's down 30 army supply, and these roaches are getting awfully close towards his natural. And even the Lings and Banes is still causing a lot of problems. I don't know how he can hold. If he does hold, he's in a great spot. But how does he hold?
Doesn't. He was even supply blocked. That's why he banked 500. So 8 more roaches are on the way now. Still would have been too late, even without the supply block, I think.